could I ask for? Beautiful life. Beautiful life. What a beautiful life. Beautiful life. Listen, I woke up this morning, y'all. The sun was shining oh so brightly. I thought about how good this life is. Back in the day, it wasn't always like this. I think about the things we done been through. I think about the place that I come from. It wasn't always easy, so every day I'm thanking God for the beautiful people everywhere I go. I just need to see your smiling faces at my show. And when you're feeling real love from the family, every day is a gift, y'all, that's all I need. What a beautiful life. All that I've got, all that I need. I've got you, baby, you got me. What more could I ask for? Beautiful life. Beautiful life. A beautiful life. Beautiful life. Happiness, you know, it feels real good, y'all. For us to get it, then we gotta work hard, y'all. Every day. And don't pay attention to the things they say when they tell you that you can't make it, but you can if you try, y'all. When life is rough, I know sometimes you wanna cry, y'all. Just keep the faith and don't question. Ain't no need of stressing. Your life is still a blessing. It's not about the cars, the money, or the clothes. You can believe these things will only come and go, but when you're getting real love from everyone you meet, it's a blessing, y'all. It's magic, y'all. What a beautiful life. All that I've got, all that I need. I've got you, baby, you got me. What more could I ask for? Beautiful life. Beautiful life. What a beautiful life. Beautiful life. And now we all been blessed to be here. So it ain't no need.
Thank you for joining me. It is 4:00 p.m. I hope you have your drinks. And as you can see, the shoe cam is back in full effect today. And today I have a full show. Hopefully my second guest will call in. I had not heard from her, but we're going to keep it moving as we do. On the line, I'm going to bring in Miss SD Skye in a moment. Today is, because I always give you the date. Today is April the 8th. And if you have not been following the news or Twitter or Facebook or anything, there has been a police officer charged in South Carolina for the murder of a 50-year-old man who was, by the videotape, running away from him. So we will see how that all plays out. And, you know, the family of the murdered young man wants peace in South Carolina. So we don't need to go out there and start tearing things up, but we need to watch closely what's going on in South Carolina. Today, I have on the line with me Miss SD Skye. Can you hear me? Nope. Let's see.
I can hear you.
Oh, okay. How are you doing today? Hello? Can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you fine.
Okay, so today we're going to have Miss SD Skye on the line with us today. And she is a native. Well, I'm saying native Washingtonian, but really she's not, because you spent your formative years, as you say, in the Ohio Valley.
Yep.
So it wasn't until, I found this very interesting, that it wasn't until a certain birthday that you had that
Yes.
Oprah had the Live Your Best Life moment, and that is when you wrote your very first novel. So what about that show made you decide, I'm going to write a book?
Well, I'll tell you, I had been, basically a closet journaler, like since I was 7 or 8 years old. I've been writing in diaries and journals and stuff, and I always wanted to be a writer, but I just kept talking myself out of it. I kept saying, you don't have a degree in English, yet I didn't get a degree in English, right?
Right.
Which didn't make any sense. I didn't think that I had I didn't have the skills to pull it off. I admired, people like Terry McMillan and Toni Morrison, So, I thought, I cannot do that. And I kept talking myself out of it until I got ready to turn the big 4-0. And at that point, something just said to me, well, it's kind of one of those moments where, are you going to do it or are you not? And so that just kind of made me say, hey, I'm moving into a different part of my life. Let's just give it a shot. And I did. So 4 months later, I had my first novel written ever. So that's like my first real piece of fiction outside of the classroom setting.
Right, and what is amazing about that is that it was picked up by a major publisher. Simon & Schuster picked you up for your very first novel. And how did that happen? Did you seek out to be with the main publisher? Did you have an agent first? How did that all come about?
Well, I'll tell you, I did not. As a matter of fact, I had given up on the traditional publishing. What happened is after I wrote the book, I entered it into this contest, which is kind of my first kind of relating to other authors. Mm-hmm. And basically what they said was, well, now once you write a book, you got to get a literary agent. So, of course, I thought, my piece is brilliant. As soon as I send it to them, they're going to want to sign me up.
Right.
I am headed straight to Oprah.
Okay.
And so,
as we all thought we were.
that I am on that fast track to Oprah. And so, and then the reality check came when I started sending out queries and I sent out the manuscript and everything, where I could not find, anybody to represent me. Although I would, get feedback and I would make changes. And then every time that I did a query, that always got more positive and more positive. So I knew I was making the right changes. And so finally, I said, I quit this process. I kind of got the last final changes from a really big agency in New York. And they gave me some really good feedback, but they were on the verge of taking me on. And then, they took it up a little higher and they said no. And so at that point I said, well, here it is. Are you going to do it or you're not? And so I decided to self-publish, and it got such great reviews from like the book clubs and all that kind of stuff that I ended up getting discovered by an editor. Just emailed me.
Wow.
I said, hey, I'm interested in your book, and I was like, huh? I couldn't believe it.
So when when you're being self-published, because a lot of our authors that we know are indie published, that's the new term now. They're indie published. Exactly. And what was it that you were doing that, a lot of people say, well, I'm doing book clubs, but it had to be something else that you were doing besides just book clubs, correct?
Okay, so let's see. In terms of, honestly, that was my, I'm new, right? First thing I've ever written, ever.
Right.
And so I really did not have any context, but it just made sense to me that to send it out to as many book clubs as would read it. Mm-hmm. And honestly, it was really book clubs that it was their reviews and their Amazon reviews. And then, so then what happened, I got the idea for the sales strategy. This was kind of at the beginning of the ebook strategy.
Okay.
Where this is before it was okay to self-publish. Mm-hmm. So it was right at that point where, we were kind of gaining legitimacy, and I put the book on sale for 99 cents, mm-hmm. the ebook. And so this is in 2009.
Okay.
Before all these people blew up. And so I put it on sale. I was selling it for like $3 or $4, and I said, let me just try this 99-cent thing. So after by this time I had like 25 good reviews, and then I put it on sale for 99 cents, and the book just sold. Like my first month. Now keep in mind, this is 2009 numbers because it's so much different now. But
right.
back then, hardly anybody had an ebook reader.
Exactly,
right?
Exactly.
And so my first month I sold 500. My second month I sold 1,000. And from that point forward, I sold anywhere between 500 to 800 copies a month.
Wow. So
at that point, and I was like, at the top of the, the number one chick lit, the number one African American romance, and then I got visibility that way.
Right.
And and I'm the only self-published person at that time, in that top 50 list, because back then it was all traditional.
Exactly. So
I imagine when editors are looking at it and they're saying, hey, this is not on our list.
Right. So now you have the Itch series. Now, one, I want to know, what is the itch? Because everybody wants to put their own spin. So I'm like, okay, is it the other word? But no, it really isn't. It is the itch. So how did you come to have a series, AJ McCall series, which is Son of a Itch, A No Good Itch, and A 7-Year Itch? What is there a significance in that word?
There is a major significance. Okay, so J.J. McCall is she's an FBI agent. She's an FBI special agent. But the kind of twist in her character, really to make her kind of stand out from all the other, kind of typical thriller characters, is she has the ability to detect lies. It's a born ability.
Okay.
And when somebody speaks a lie to her, it sends a sensation to her that feels akin to an itch.
Ah.
And so that itch really is talking about her lie detector capability.
Okay. And so what made you give her that ability? I mean, you could have given her so many other abilities, but what made that, you said, oh, you know what? It'd be great for this to be her lie detector. What made you come up with that?
Well, here was the thing. In the world of counterintelligence, because I worked in that field for 12 years when I was at the FBI. So in the world of counterintelligence and in the world of spying, it is all based on lies. Everybody lies.
Okay.
It's the lies you have to kind of keep up to, keep up your cover. Like if you're CIA and you're undercover in another country, right? You have to lie constantly. You have to lie about your identity. You lie about what you do for work. Lie. Everybody lies.
Exactly.
It's the thing. So the thing was to give her this power. But think about lies too. Is that sometimes we don't lie because we're trying to cover up something. Sometimes we're lying because we're trying to protect somebody else. Sometimes we're, telling a lie to protect ourselves or whatever. So, even though somebody is lying, you really don't know the full story, right?
Right.
So it gives her, when she's conducting investigations and she's talking to people and somebody speaks a lie to her, well, she can tell, she knows, hey, something's not right with this person, but she doesn't know what's not right with them. So it doesn't stop her from investigating, but it does help guide her.
Okay.
So that she might look to one person more than she might look to another person. But it's only so good as to who she speaks to. If you don't speak to the main spy and you don't have a direct conversation with them and ask a question and have them lie to you, then, it doesn't. So it's not so much that she can win every game. There's still obstacles to having that power. But at the same time, it does give her an edge that, normal people don't have.
Right. So now, because you did, or you are working in the intelligence community, do you have to walk a very thin line with this thriller series because of your job?
Yeah. I mean, I'm actually out of that world now. I was in that world for about 20 years. And so now I work for a government contractor. So thankfully, I'm out of that world. But now that I'm out of it, like clean out of it, that was the only point at which I would even consider writing, this series. And even though I write the series, I still have to all these books have to be reviewed by the FBI first. So every single book of the series has to go through FBI before it can be released, to make sure that I don't tell things that would reveal sources or that would reveal their tactics. More secret, covert tactics and stuff like that. So yeah, they review every single one.
So even though it's fiction, because I had another guest on the show, Tom Pacini, who actually has to do the same thing because he used to work in the intelligence community. So when is it that they need to see it? In process or once it is going to be published?
I usually wait until I've got at least the final draft done, and I send it to what I consider the final story. It might be before proofreading because they just need to know what the storyline is. It doesn't have to be edited perfectly at that point.
So
normally
have they ever said to you, no, you got to take that out? You have to take some pieces of it out?
No, because I know. I actually, part of my job as an intelligence analyst was to when people requested, do FOIA requests, Freedom of Information Act requests. Whenever people would request secret files, I was one of the people who would respond to those requests, and I know what the FBI would black out and what they would allow to go through. So I have a very clear idea of what's acceptable and what's not. So I've never had a single book kicked back for anything.
Okay, so, and I know that you're working now, the Itch series. How many books do you see in that series? And when you started it, did you know that it was going to be a series?
Yes, I did know it was going to be a series. The plan was to do 5 books in the series. However, as I have progressed, and especially with this 3rd book, the twist that I put at the end of this last book was so kind of a life-changing shift that I think it's actually going to require maybe, instead of 5 books, maybe 7.
Wow.
To really flesh out the, storyline, so that it doesn't feel rushed, like I try to hurry up and finish it,
Right.
But at the same time, I have 20 years of experience to use. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I can easily fill, 7 books that are good. But my whole thing is, I would like the stories and the characters to grow, to take a natural progression, and for the book to be exciting and not feel like, oh, she just threw that version together just to wrap it up.
Right.
I don't want to do that. So, and I feel like I would if I stopped at 5.
So what have you?
It might go to 7.
So what have you found is different from the first time that you published? What changes do you like now in the publishing arena, or what changes don't you like? Like, what are you finding it, most difficult now in terms of all of your books?
Well, I'll tell you. The big thing, especially, going from, indie publishing to traditional publishing and then back to indie publishing is there's so many more. When I started 2009, there wasn't a lot of authors. It was more easy to stand out as an author. If you're a good writer, there just wasn't a lot of crowding. Nobody wanted to be an indie author then because it was shunned upon.
Right.
Everybody's like, yeah, you're an indie author.
Right.
But then you've had these big successes, and now everybody wants to be indie author.
Exactly. It's almost like you want to be an indie author instead of traditionally published because, everyone knows that, they're merging. The big publishers are either merging or they're, not publishing certain genre anymore. So do you think that you're going to stay with the thriller series, or because you're writing under two different names, do you think that you are going to, focus on the thriller series first, and then you're going to go back after you finish, writing that series and go back to, where you started from?
No, I'm doing both as we speak, literally. I have another romance, kind of a category romance coming out this summer under my pseudonym, and then it's right back to finishing up book 4 of the JJ series. So I am, the freedom of this is the freedom of being an indie publisher. I don't have to write in one genre. I don't have to adhere to anybody's schedule but my own. Mm-hmm. Great. And whatever story hits me in that moment that feels stronger, I can work on it as much as I want and get it out. If I start something, I like to finish it. So that's my whole thing now. I won't switch off this other one until it's done, until it's out. But yeah, so I have that freedom to go back and forth, and I use it. I write in, adult romance, spy thrillers, and young adult. And I have a young adult book in the works as well. So, it's what comes to me and when.
Now, what do you prefer? Do you prefer the control you have being an indie author, or do you like, before when you were published by one of the big publishers, did you like that you didn't have to do, you still had to do a lot, but you didn't have to do everything as you do when you're indie published? And what are you finding the hardest thing to do being an indie publisher?
Well, I'll tell you, there's pros and cons to both, right? And, I could talk for a year on the, on the pros and cons of doing each, and what, if I had to do it all again, the things that I would do differently. But what I will say is, traditional publishing allows you the time. And so instead of me, for instance, I finished up A No Good Itch in December, mm-hmm. Right?
Right.
Instead of me having to worry about, doing editing, putting a cover together and all that, I could have immediately jumped into my next book and just dealt with the, kind of the stuff that you need to get the book out into the market, piece by piece. Mm-hmm. But normally it takes a traditional publisher a year to get a book out. But the editing process, you got to go through at least a minimum of 3 editing, rounds,
mm-hmm.
and they do the cover design, and you say, no, I don't like that cover, and they say, okay, we'll change it to this cover, so you got to go through that,
right? And
you got to write that cover copy. So it's always this little pieces coming at you at a time, but it's not something. It's something somebody else is working on, so you don't have to do it every day,
right?
So you can focus on new work. So that's what I would say I love the best about traditional publishing. However, what I will say I like best about indie publishing is that it doesn't take a year to get a book out. Mm-hmm. You can publish more frequently. Like for me this year, I'll have 2 books coming out.
Okay.
So at least 2. So for me, I would not be able to do it on the schedule that I'm writing. I would not be able to do that with traditional publishing.
Right. Now, are your fans, are they the same fans for your thriller series as for your romantic series, or have you now got divided and have gotten a brand new set of fans with your thriller series?
Absolutely. They're completely different. Not the same at all.
And, are you still doing the book tour, the book clubs and all of that? Well,
here's the thing. It's tough with my initial market, is mostly romance readers, right? And so romance readers don't always tend to be spy thriller readers, right?
Right.
And so, so targeting the clubs that I, would give my romance to, when you hand them a spy thriller and a completely different cover and a completely different thing, and it's really spy. It's really not romance with a little bit of spy. It's a lot of spy with a little bit romance, right? So you try to give these books to those same people, and they're like, I don't think so. But tell me when your next romance comes out.
Right.
So that's the kind of thing that you deal with. So, but the great thing is, I have such a diverse audience. Oh my goodness! I mean, I've picked up many more male readers.
Wow.
With the spy thriller series. I mean, if you go to any site and look at reviews, I mean, most of them are men that have reviewed it. And there's still a lot of women who also read it. So, and all ethnicities and stuff. It's a very diverse audience. So I love that.
So are you a part of the international thriller writer community?
I am.
And so are you going to be at Thriller Fest this year?
I would love to go, but my 9 to 5, because I still have to do that 9 to 5 schedule.
Right.
My 9 to 5 work schedule is the only thing that will keep me out of it, but I would really love to go.
Yeah, I interviewed R.L. Stine last week, and so I've been going because my next book is going to be, I didn't think that it was really a thriller, but it's turning out to be one. So I've been going now for the past 3 years. The first 2 years I was going as a fan, and then this year I'm going as an author. So I'm really looking forward to going as an author, because it's a totally different experience that you have. And have you found that the thriller writers that you've been encountering are much more different than your romance writers? Because I don't know if this is a stereotype, but I know most of the romantic writers that I know, they're older ladies, or I don't know, you don't seem like the romantic writer. You seem more like the thriller writer.
Right? It's funny because my experience with thriller writers, they're usually men, black, white, brown, purple, or whatever.
Right.
But, most of them, they're men. And then there are fewer women who write true thrillers, like pure thrillers. Like there's a lot of young female romantic suspense writers.
Right.
But true thriller writers, yeah, they tend to be mostly men. In my experience. So. And
I know that you're going to. I know you do conferences. You do a lot. I won't say a lot, but you do more than a lot of people would do. And I know you have a couple of conferences that you're going to be at this year.
Yes, I'm excited too. So the one that I'm doing is C3 Con. And I'm excited about that because I'll be a guest author, local author. And so I'm really looking forward to attending that one. And then there's a few others on the slate too. Black Authors and Readers Rock Weekend. I'll also be attending that. So I've got a few things on my schedule, but yes.
And so when you go, let me ask you, when you are approached for doing conferences, or do you seek them out? Now that you're a thriller writer, you're an YA and a romantic writer and a thriller writer now. When you do that, and because I know, the other name you write under, how are you separating those? How do you separate the two?
Yeah, it's hard. I'm telling you, because when I go, honestly, I don't have the energy to I know an author, another romance author, she writes under two things, and she has two personas. So, if she's if she's showing up some places one name, she shows up in one persona, and the other one she goes with the wig and with the accent, and she does the whole
Really?
thing.
Who is that? I want to know who that is. Well, you can tell me the name that she uses the most.
Huh?
What's the name she uses the most?
Zuri Day, Letitia Lovely.
Okay.
Yeah. So she does both. And so, but I don't have the energy. Honest to God, I honestly just don't have the energy for that. I thought about, going to the conference with, sunglasses and the trench coat and the hat, kind of pulled over to hide my identity. And I thought, I don't have the energy for that stuff, so I'm just going to put my books on the table and let it be what it is. I just have to tell 3 times the story when people come up to my table.
Right. So when you came out with the Thriller series and you came out with a different name, did it confuse your romantic readers?
Nope, because I kept it completely separate.
Okay.
I created a separate site. I didn't advertise them together. I still don't to some extent. Like if you go to the SD Skye site, you won't see the other stuff. If you go to the other stuff, you will see the SD Skye stuff.
Okay.
So, and I only started doing that recently because I'm kind of just, it's just too much energy to keep it separate. So now it's kind of a little more integrated. But for the most part, I have a specific audience for that book. It doesn't really have to cross over, and it works the way it is in terms of marketing and stuff. So, I just let it be what it is.
And is marketing different for the thrillers than it is for the romance, or have you found that the marketing just kind of merges together?
I'll say what I will say is different is the kinds of covers that you have to do, and it's just a different group of people. Like I said, now it's kind of mostly a male-dominated circle, whereas romance is female-dominated, right? So you're just dealing with a whole different group of people. So you have to word things differently. You have to use a kind of different cover, something that will appeal to that audience. So, yeah, I mean, you really do have to draw a line, between the romance and thriller.
Now, when you're doing book signings, because you do have the 2 separate series, do you pick one to do, or do you give half and half? If you're at a book signing and you have 4 hours, you do 2 hours with the romance and 2 hours with the thrillers, or do you just say, well, because the thriller series is the newest, are you just concentrating on that right now?
If I have a table or something, or it depends. Okay, for instance, if I'm going to a conference for a specific thing, or if I've been invited for a specific thing, then I go for that thing, right? But if I'm, exhibiting an exhibiting author or something, I just put all 3 up there. Because with my YA, even though a romance reader may not read YA, they might have kids and that they want to read. So I have those available. And then for men who pass the table now, they have a thriller series or women who are interested in thrillers, So what I find now is that I have a lot more people, stopping by because there's such a diverse mix of books on the table. Just about anybody can find something.
Right. And so with your traditionally published novels, are you thinking about trying to get the new thriller series with your publisher?
Well, I actually had the opportunity to do that, and I passed on it. When I wrote the first JJ novel, I gave it to my editor at Simon & Schuster, and she made an offer on it. But at the time, they were the imprint that I was with. They were shifting to an ebook only format, and so I didn't want to just do an ebook only. So that is the reason why I didn't take it through them.
Oh,
but
yeah. Okay, so now is your first book through your traditional publisher, is that only available on ebook now?
It is. Well, I'll tell you, my first book actually it earned out, and I got the right to revert it back to me. So So I actually own the book again.
Oh, wow. So what do you plan on doing with it? I mean, it did so well because I have it, and I was so excited.
Right.
You know, it was so funny because the first time I met you, I was like, she looks familiar, but I'm not quite sure why. And then I walked over to your table. I'm like, oh, my God, I have that book. I have that book. So I can't even tell you how excited I was to meet you because, you know, I had your book on my and I keep forgetting to bring it to you so you can sign it for me because I bought it in one of those, I think I got it through Black Expressions Book Club or something. And so every time, you know, that's so bad. I'm like a fan. So pay me no mind when I come to you with all these books. I just want the signature.
You're right. No problem with me.
So are you going to re-release that on your own?
I actually did re-release it. And so it's now just on ebook.
Okay.
I don't know if I put the paper back up yet. But eventually the plan is just to have them both back out there. Just so, but the idea is, now that that's, now that I have the rights back to that, when my newest book comes out, I will have marketing for, that whole series, those two first books in the back of the new book. Mm-hmm. So new readers will be able to go back and say, hey, she wrote those two books as well.
Right. So are you going to, when you do your new, the new romance, are you going to go back through your editor for that? Or are you now firmly embedded in indie publishing?
Right. For the time being, I am firmly embedded in indie publishing. This is not to say I will never go back to a publisher. Mm-hmm. But what I will say is that it would have to be, now I know what circumstances would have to happen in order for me to go back there. So.
Okay. And let me ask you, because a lot of people always ask the question, how do you do your distribution? Because, that's a big thing to get your books in a bookstore.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, now I've had my books in bookstores. I have not really made a big push for that with my thriller series. But I do my distribution through CreateSpace for Amazon, and then I go through Ingram. Okay. I go through Ingram for my for the bookstore sales and library sales.
Oh, okay.
So actually, that's where the bulk of my stuff goes through libraries. I mean, that's where the bulk of my book sales are now.
And so have you decided to, do you have a catalog? Do you say, okay, you know what? Here I am, world. Here's a catalog of everything I have.
I'll tell you, I do actually have a catalog. I just created it last year. But my difficulty is in finding the balance of, doing the mass mailing that I really need to do with it. So I do mail it, but I don't mail it to the extent that, that I need to, because I'm so focused on the writing. My thing is, let me get these books out of my head. That's where my focus is. Get the books out of your head. Build up. So that if somebody wants to book it, you don't have to say it's coming. You can say, this is available.
Right.
So that's my focus, especially with me still working a full-time job. Working a full-time job, getting 2 books out of here is incredible. So.
Right, it is. And how do you balance that? Do you have a set time? If you get off from work on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, do you use that time to write, or are you just, you fit it in where you can?
I generally wake up about 4 in the morning, and I usually write for at least an hour and a half or so. And then I go to work and do whatever, come back home, and then I may write for 2 or 3 hours in the evening. That's if I don't have, other stuff to do. But really, the bulk of my time is done on the weekends. I basically don't sleep, and I have no life. So, yeah.
Well, I know about the don't sleep type of life. So, yeah.
So that's basically how I get my hours in. I don't sleep, and then on the weekends, I can pull long days on the weekends, and I usually do.
Okay. So let all of my viewers know where they can find you. Okay.
So my website is author SDSkye.com. You can find me on Twitter at SD Skye1, and you can find me on Facebook also at SD Skye, or author SD Skye. So.
And I thank you so much for joining me today. And like I said, well, we will see each other at a lot of events, because I'll be at the Black Readers Rock weekend, and I'll be at the C3 conference. I'll be in I will be at Thriller Fest, and if you want me to take anything there for you, just let me know. I can, I'm always around there. People always, I'm talking to everybody, so I can slip them a few things for, and plus, R.L. Stein, I have it in with him now, so.
All right now.
So, exactly. And because in the thriller writers world, there are not a lot of African Americans. So I thank you for being one of the African American women in the thriller community.
Okay. Well, thank you. And I'm excited. It's I love the series, and it's one of the most exciting things I've done. So I just hope people, just more and more people pick it up and give it a try.
I am definitely going to get the first book in the series so I can start reading it and let you know exactly what I think.
Okay.
All right. So thank you for joining me today.
Okay. Thank you for having me.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
So that was Mrs. SD Skye. Like I said, I met her. I read her books years and years ago and was just blown away by it. And so it was like, when I met her, it was just phenomenal. I'm supposed to have another guest on the show today by the name of Violet Mayer, and I'm not sure if I'm saying her name correctly. She's also an author, but she's also a painter and a poet. She's a native Georgian that lives in Atlanta, Georgia. And she has several books out. I'm hoping that she'll call in, but right now I'm going to just take a real quick moment to talk about my second novel. My second novel came out last week on April 1st, and no, it was not an April Fool's joke. And while the marriage was over, Cheryl is still struggling with the effects of it. She's moving forward with a new love, but old habits die hard. To complicate things even more, her new lover has a secret of his own. Happiness has finally found her, but unfortunately, so has someone else. Pick up your copy of Let Me Say This Again on Amazon, for Kindle, in paperback, on Nook, iAuthor, and also for your iPad, by me, your host, B. Swangin Webster. And like I said, my book came out last week. It's been a week. My book is a week old. Just like a new infant, you say, oh, isn't he cute? He's 7 days old. I don't know if I'm going to say that when it's like 6 months. I'll be like, oh, my book is 6 months old. But I also have my book is a series as well. So the first book is called Let Me Just Say This. And this one is Let Me Say This Again. And I had such a great time writing it, and I have gotten some really great reviews on it. I just got an editorial review from best-selling author John Land, who, when I read this review, had me in tears. I cry, ugly cry, people, and it just had me in tears. Tears were streaming down my face, and I was compared to Sandra Brown. And if you know who Sandra Brown is, she is a great psychological thriller writer, and he compared me to her, and that was like priceless for me. Now, like I said, I'm still waiting for Violet to call in, but real quick, if you all follow me on Facebook, and if you don't, why not? But if you've been following me on Facebook, I have gone through this dilemma for the past 3 months. I suffer with insomnia, and it has gotten worse over the last 3 months, but it's not due to stress. So every night I try something different, and finally I gave up and went to the doctors. They prescribed me some sleeping pills. But let me just tell you, people, them sleeping pills are not working. Last night I woke up a total of 13 times, and the only reason that I got, know this is because every time I woke up, it felt like I had been asleep for hours. I was exhausted, and I would just, turn the head over and look at the clock, and it would say 45 minutes had passed or 20 minutes had passed. And then I got up and was walking around, and then I remembered something that the pill bottle said. It said, do not walk around because, you could injure yourself. Now, if a drug tells you don't walk around because you can injure yourself, I quickly decided, let me stay away from the stairs and move the dog out the way and got back in the bed. The problem with this medication is as soon as I take it, within 10 minutes, I am asleep. And it tells you, take medication while laying down. Again, if this medicine is this strong, why am I not sleeping? So, people say, well, why don't you take 2? Well, I'm scared that if I take 2, I'm going to have to still get up and go to my regular job. And then it specifically says, do not drive because you will suffer from sleep driving. Okay, I think I've done that a couple times before where I really didn't know how I got from point A to point B. So I'm not really trying to have that, happening at 5 o'clock in the morning on my way to my regular job. So tonight, I'm going to take the advice of Miss Sanjo. She told me to breathe deeply, concentrate on my breath. I think that's sort of like a meditation type thing. We're going to see what happens. I mean, next week, if I come in and you see toothpicks hanging on my eyelids, that means it hasn't worked and those sleeping pills have been thrown away. I mean, I have gone so far as my little dog can no longer sleep in the room with me because I said I want it completely silent. And sometimes he gets up in the middle of the night and he wants to jump up on the bed with me. And I'm like, no, get off. And so I have put him outside of my bedroom and put his little bed out there. He's not very happy. He scratches at the door half the night. And now he's used to it, so I make sure he's asleep before I take my sleeping pill. So it's not a pretty sight in my house right now. Although I have, organized the closet or two and rearranged the room, and I actually put up a light fixture. Now, see, that's what insomnia will do to you. You will become a happy homemaker. You will start redesigning and reorganizing everything. Now, that's not to say I finished, but if I have a few more sleepless nights, I'm sure that will happen. Oh, and if you did not know, it is my birthday month. My birthday is at the end of the month, but it's the whole month. I'll start celebrating on April 1st, people. And so if you choose to give me a gift, you know what I like. I like Twizzlers. I like Pixie Sticks. And I like anything sweet. Oh, I was just so bad. I was really bad. Easter, and I hope everybody had a great Resurrection Sunday. I went down to the National Harbor, and they have the Peep store. And so I went in there and I said, oh, you know what? I'm going to buy some Peeps for my grandbaby. So I bought like 10 packages of them, all the different colors that they had. And I am ashamed to say that I have eaten 8 packs of those Peeps. The grandbabies got none. And when the grandbaby wanted one, I actually said there were no more, even though I had a whole another carton of them. But hey, gotta eat something. Maybe that's why I'm not sleeping. I'm all sugared up in the evening. Maybe that's what's going on. Like I said, I was waiting for Violet to call in. Mike, do you have her book covers? I'm just going to show them just real quick because we are running out of time. But she has several books that she has written. And her latest one is Son of the Rock, I believe, which I believe they are paranormal. She does have some poetry novels, but The Son of the Rock is actually the sequel to Angel Crush, and it is about a fallen angel. And when you think about novels and this, it is clearly showing that he is a fallen angel of some sort, but it's the story of family fear and a fantasy which turns a mother against a daughter and a brother against brother and a husband against a wife, and it stretches the limits of what one is forced to accept. And the journey continues as it forces you to keep turning the pages to find out what happens. And like I said, that is the sequel to Angel Crush, which Sadie Covington was, she had everything that, a person could want until she gets a celestial stalker. Now, okay, I say I want a stalker, but if the stalker is coming from the stars, I don't really think I want to be dealing with that. So she has a celestial stalker, and it's the age-old battle of good versus evil, and it takes you through a supernatural and the natural world that is an eerie journey that will have you, thinking, maybe I don't really want to be fighting against anything that I really can't identify. So we sorry that we missed Violet today, but I'm hoping that we can reschedule her. And last week I had R.L. Stein on the show, and for my birthday month, I'm giving myself gifts all months, and this month on Wednesday, on April 29th, Eric Jerome Dickey will be joining me. He's in California, but he will be giving me a live interview on April 29th, and that is not a show you want to miss because I'm going to be asking some questions that I really wanted to know. I have all his books, so I'm going to have all his books in the studio, so he better hope he don't give me no address because I'm going to be, sending them out to him so he can sign them. I also want to make a quick shout out because part of the show is sponsored by the Authors Readers Rock Weekend, which is going on October 16th and 17th. That's where you can meet SD Skye, Austin Camacho, me, B. Swangin Webster. You'll meet K.R. Ray. You'll meet D. Lawrence, and a lot of different authors will be there this year. It'll be from October 16th and 17th in Bowie, Maryland. And if you want any more information, you can either contact me or you can contact Readers Rock Weekend on Facebook. And Dr. Daniel Black will be at the Saturday luncheon, and there will also be a Friday evening book club meeting with panels and a small reception. And you can purchase tickets on Eventbrite. So today's show was brought to you in part by Authors Readers Rock Weekend, and I want to thank all of you for joining me today because it has been a blast. Every week I come to the show and I always say, oh my gosh, I can't believe an hour flew by, and actually I'm glad that SD Skye stayed, on the interview as long as she did because, I don't mind talking about myself. I just don't like to talk about myself. But it was a great interview, and she writes under SD Skye, but her other author name is K.L. Brady, and she writes her romance series under that, and her first series, her first novel was called Bum Magnet. So if you did not know, that is who SD Skye was, so don't confuse the two. She is one and the same. Actually, she's a Washingtonian. She lives right in Maryland, right around me. Actually, we live right around the corner from each other and didn't even know it until last year. So I thank you for joining me today. I thank Paula for joining me, and Carmen, and all my friends here on WLVS. We are in more than 32 countries, people, all over the world and all over the United States, and this show couldn't be possible without all of the great people behind the scenes that work. My great board operator Mike, who I come in here looking crazy half the times, and he'd be like, okay, it's calm, I'll be with you in a minute. He settles me right down. I think it's just his calm spirit that makes me calm. And then I was like, I don't want to let him see me acting so crazy. I mean, I can do that when I'm home at 3 o'clock in the morning, not getting no sleep. I'm sure he's sleeping at 3 o'clock in the morning, aren't you, Mike? Yeah. Sometimes, he said. So at least when I'm awake at 3 o'clock in the morning, I hope you all are getting some sleep. But if you're not, just grab my novel. See, I shameless promotion, people. Grab my novel. Let me just say this again. I've read. And here's the sad part. I've read it myself now 3 nights in a row, thinking it'll put me to sleep because they say try reading. You can, you might drift drift off. I've read this book 3 times. I've read John Gilstrap's book. I read Jeffrey Deaver's book. I read Bum Magnet again. So reading doesn't do it for me. It just keeps me awake. It makes me want to read more books. So coming up next, it is Truth 360. They will be in the studio bringing their show, Miss Holly, and I always forget the other young woman's name, and I'm so bad with names right now. I think it's the insomnia. But I thank you for joining me, and until next week, people, next week we'll have 2 more guests in the studio with me. But until next week, what am I doing? I'm living a beautiful life. I hope you are too. See you then.
What a beautiful life.
All that I've got is all that I need. I got you, baby, you got me. What more could I ask for? Beautiful life. Beautiful life.
I got
What a beautiful life.
beautiful life.
Listen, I woke up this morning, y'all. The sun was shining oh so brightly. I thought about how good this life is. Back in the day, it wasn't always like this. I think about the things we done been through. I think about the place that I come from. It wasn't always easy, so every day I'm thanking God for the beautiful people everywhere I go. I just need to see your smiling faces at my show. And when you're feeling real love from the family, every day is a gift, y'all, that's all I need.
What a beautiful life.
All that I've got is all that I need. I got you, baby, you got me. What more could I ask for? Beautiful life.
Beautiful life. We got
Beautiful life.
I got
What a beautiful life.
beautiful life.
Happiness, you know, it feels real good, y'all. For us to get it, then we gotta work hard, y'all. Every day. And don't pay attention to the things they say when they tell you that you can't make it, but you can if you try, y'all. When life is rough, I know sometimes you wanna cry, y'all. Just keep the faith and don't question. Ain't no need of stressing. Your life is still a
It's
blessing.
not about the cars, the money, or the clothes.
You can believe these things will only come and go, but when you're getting real love from everyone you meet, it's a blessing, y'all. It's magic, y'all.
What a beautiful life.
All that I've got is all that I need. I got you, baby, you got me. What more could I ask for? Beautiful life.
Beautiful life. We got
Beautiful life.
I got
What a beautiful life.
beautiful life.
And now we all been blessed to be here, so it ain't no need for stress. We don't worry about the things that we can't control. We just pray and hope for the best. You don't need a whole lot of money. You don't need no fancy car. You ain't gotta be famous or a movie star. Just be happy with who you are. You got some food on the table and a place to live, and that's a beautiful life. You got somebody you can love, family and some kids, and that's a beautiful life. You got money in your pocket just to pay your bills, and that's a beautiful life. Just to make it through the struggle and you still be here. Now that's a beautiful life.
Okay, wind me up. DC, stand up. The Godfather. I got you. You spoiling me now. 6 years later, still the talk of the town. I put myself on, and then I put my team on too. Take on my BET. I spilled my drink on hold. Still I believe that, and I mean that. There will be no flow if you ain't sing that tune. We see police run joke. You put DC on first. I put us all on next, and now it's all on me to keep your name on deck. Okay, the Godfather. Gotta know that it's not a problem. Been in the pocket like hot tires of Saviata. Praying for a better manana. I hope I'm making you proud. I'ma rep you in honor. Irrefutable spirit. How your music get nearest. When I got that award, it felt like you got this shit with me. Ha. Life's good, still it's getting better. Still pray for Low and Benny. Tell KK hold her head up. A lot have done it, but not too many that done it better. Forget a record, for all you done, you deserve a medal. A toast, a two, for jump, EU, for essence, for back, energy, UCB, TCB, hold DC, rest in peace, this for you.
Beautiful life.
All that I've got, all